Hey Overthinkers, my name is Courtney and welcome to the Overthinker Guide. So this month we're talking about traveling as an overthinker. Last week I talked about how like an overthinker would prepare before the trip. And one thing I forgot that I feel like every overthinker should have is travel protection or travel insurance. Now, I didn't mention it last week because I have annual travel insurance, so that covers any type of travel I'm doing for the year. But if you travel like maybe only once or twice a year, definitely get travel protection for your trip. Yeah, my arm's gonna get tired. I don't think I can do this. Hold on. With travel protection, this is the thing that you hope not to use. You don't want to use it, but it's good to have when you need it. So I feel like a lot of people skip over travel protection, and because like I said, most of the time you're probably not going to use it. On those moments that you do need it, it's good to have. Last week I did go through certain scenarios. It wasn't related to travel protection, although travel protection would come in handy for certain scenarios, but I backtracked because I felt like this could cause panic. I'm an overthinker, but I feel like there are more people who are more worriers than I am, and I didn't want to cause people to worry. But certain things with child protection is that if someone gets sick, it doesn't even have to be you. It could be your mom, your dad, your aunt. If you live with your aunt, your grandparent. If someone is a family member is sick, and they're sick like right before your vacation, but you want to make sure you can, take care of them, check on them, travel protection will cover that. You'll get reimbursed. If there's travel delays, missing baggage, and even depending on the medical issue, if there's something medical that needs to be done while you're traveling, travel protection will reimburse you for that. So I feel like as an overthinker, as someone who wants to be prepared for anything and everything, travel protection is the thing to get. So that is something definitely to get before your trip. If you try to get it during your trip, it's too late. So definitely get that before your trip. And if you travel more than 3 times a year, I would say go ahead and get annual travel insurance, because that'll ultimately be cheaper than buying travel protection for each and every trip. That's my travel insurance spiel. If you ever have a consultation with me, I'm always going to suggest getting travel protection or travel insurance. It's Overthinking Thursday. So now we're talking about overthinking during the trip. So things that I'm constantly thinking about. And granted, this is happening before the trip, but I'm thinking about like what is going to happen like during the trip. So like one thing I feel like I overthink about even recently is typically when I get a flight, it's an earlier flight. So I'm coming in well before the check-in time. So I'm thinking, if they don't let me check in early, what can I do between when I get there to check in? Can I entertain myself? Is there some place nearby I can go to? Is there a restaurant? Or are there activities? That is one thing I have been overthinking about recently, because I do have a trip coming up where I'm coming in very early. Another thing, and this is more so coming from me as an introverted person. Not all overthinkers are introverts, but I do think a lot of introverts are overthinkers. But when I'm thinking about travel, I am also thinking, what time is the best time to go? And for me, the best time is when there's the least amount of people. So I'm always trying to see like when is the least amount of people going. Typically that's in the morning. So I have become a morning person. So that's one thing I'm looking at, is when is the best time to go with the least amount of people. Another thing that I think about, and I feel like all of this kind of ties in together, is when does everything open? So again, I feel like more people are less willing to get up early. So typically early mornings is when is the best time to go somewhere. However, is the place I want to go to even opened early in the morning? Like in Japan, when I was looking, it feels like everything doesn't open until like 10 or 11 o'clock. And I'm like, okay, I'm up by like 6. Can we have at least something open by like 8? Like, I don't know. But I look at when things open. I also look to see if there are sometimes like certain attractions or certain places that are only open on specific days. So I'm trying to think. I think it's I'm not gonna even pronounce it. I'm gonna put it up on the screen. The church in Iceland. If I remember correctly, I think it was only opened to the public on specific days. And I was like, okay, well, I'm only here. I'm not even here for a full week. I'm only here from Monday to Friday. So what day can I visit there? So I'm always looking at things like that. So like if it's a shorter trip, you definitely have to see if where you want to go is opened. Another example that I think I can better explain or have a clear example is the Art Institute in Chicago. That place is only opened, or excuse me, I'll say is not opened on Wednesdays, I believe. So it's either Wednesdays or Tuesdays that they're not opened. And I think what the situation was that me and my sister were going to Chicago for a concert, but we wanted to, have things to do. So at first I was going to go to the Art Institute, but it wasn't going to be open the day we had planned, and we really didn't have time to visit another day because we were only up there for like 3 days. So that's one of the things that I look at during the trip that I kind of overthink about. This is for international travel, but currency. What currency do they take? Do they take US dollars? Do I need to exchange my dollars before I get there? Can I do it once I'm there? Do they accept this type of credit card? I think about this often too. So when I was going to Iceland, I was with a group, and when we would go out to eat or, go to the store, I would overhear them ask like, hey, they would be like, oh, do you accept insert card brand here? I think Discover was one of them. They had some cards I've never seen before. But it was like, do you accept this type of card? And a lot of the times they would say no. But the overthinker in me had already looked this up. Like I looked up what types of cards do they accept in Iceland, and I had read somewhere that they don't really accept American Express all over, and that was like my main travel card at the time. So I said, okay, I'm gonna have to get a new travel card so I can be able to, comfortably purchase things while I'm in Iceland. So I applied for a Visa travel card instead. And I took that with me to Iceland, and I didn't have any issues because I looked it up ahead of time because I'm an overthinker. And that's when I say that overthinking pays off, because you're prepared. And essentially that's all I'm trying to be, is prepared. The last thing I wanted to talk about was, and I don't even know if I have a foolproof advice on this, but when things don't go to plan, how do you handle it? I think this is something I'm still trying to figure out myself. But I think for me, when things don't go to plan, really, I just kind of go with the flow. I try not to freak out too much, because that's no fun for anyone. Especially if I'm traveling solo, me freaking out, it's not gonna be good for me. So I just kind of take a deep breath and I see what I can do, what is in my control, and I move forward or I pivot. You gotta do, sometimes it's a do what you gotta do kind of thing. I think an example I have, and this is, I think sometimes I overplan things as well. I try not to do this for my clients. I try to keep it more open. But when I was going to New Orleans with my friends for it was a pre-cruise stay because we were leaving it from New Orleans, I had all this stuff I wanted to do when I landed. And granted, this was me thinking I was doing this all on my own, because me and my friends are coming from different states and we were going to be arriving at different times. But then I found out that my friend's flight landed an hour after mine, and I said, I'm just going to wait for her at the airport. It was her first time flying into New Orleans. It was my first time flying into New Orleans too. But I said, I'd rather us travel from the airport to the city together rather than me going and then she trying to figure out getting an Uber and whatnot from there. So I just decided to wait on her. But because I waited that hour, that was an hour of the schedule that I had planned that I couldn't utilize. So my whole schedule I had planned for that day kind of went out of whack. I was going with the flow because I was spending time with my friend. This is a friend I hadn't seen in a while, so I just enjoyed the time I spent with her. And it happened to be Friday the 13th, and she gets a tattoo, or she tries to get a tattoo every Friday the 13th, and I said, go get a tattoo. So that's what we did. So it was fine. It didn't go to plan, but it was fine. I breathed through it. I think I still ended up getting everything done eventually, but sometimes things don't go to plan. So it's important for you to kind of keep a level head, breathe through it, think about what you can control, and move forward. I guess that's the best advice I can give right now when it comes to that. But that's really all I had for during the trip. Next week, I'll be talking about what I think about on how to prepare after the trip. And actually, it's funny because a lot of this is happening before the trip, but it's so you're kind of set up to not have to do anything when you get back home. So we'll be talking about that next week. But if you like this video, please leave a like down below. Leave a comment on what are some things that maybe you are overthinking about during your travel, or what are things that you start to kind of worry about when you're about to go on your trip. Let me know in the comments, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Until the next one, I will see you later, Overthinkers. And so now we're talking about overthinking before, no, we're not. I feel like I could be an extra in Herbie's Fully Loaded.